What should you learn how to trade first? Stocks, options, Forex, cryptocurrency, futures, I don't know, Beanie Babies. Who remembers Beanie Babies? Anyways, it's a valid question and something that comes up quite a bit. And just to set up a little bit more of the landscape context, I've had, and these are just a couple, but I want to share a couple different thought processes that are out there that who knows, maybe you have the same exact thought process. I mean, you probably do if you're watching a video titled, What Should You Learn How to Trade First? But let me just go through a couple of these. And the good news is it's actually a very straightforward answer. So by no means are you going to get some sort of, I guess grab a notepad if you want, but I think at the core, you're just gonna have to remember 2 words. So if you think you can remember 2 words, perfect. But let me, like I said, just walk you through a couple different comments I got on YouTube to set up more so of the broad context. So Austin says, hey Clay, I'm a beginner to penny stocks and options trading, looking to get started with my trading career. Do you recommend I learn penny stocks first or just go right into options, as I've seen one of your videos where you favor options trading? I'd like to be part of your community as well. Just let me know the beginning steps. Thank you. And then Danny says, hi Clay, been a fan for over a year now. I'm not able to trade stocks where I'm from. However, we are allowed to trade Forex. If possible, could you recommend someone who teaches Forex? Lots of scammers out there. So you get the idea, right? And it's maybe not necessarily what should I trade, but hey, because I can't trade this, do you know somebody else who might teach a certain area of trading? But at the core, this question here, which again, when you're brand new, when you're just getting started, it's not you're not stupid for thinking this way. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, I would argue you are being very logical. You are being a rational human being. But this is where the markets get a little tricky because it's not a question of, well, what do I learn how to trade first? It's all about learning about, well, how do I answer a single question? And this question pertains to all of these. The question being this right here. What direction? What do I mean by what direction? Well, what direction do I think a value, do I think a price is going to move? Do I think that value is going to go up? Do I think it's going to stay the same? Do I think it's going to go down? And what sort of time frame do I think it might move up or down or just go sideways? Right, that's a question where I don't care what you're trading, you need to be able to answer that question. So for example, let's just say, well, learn about options first. Learning about options and how they work and how they behave is not going to do you much good at all if you have no idea how to answer that first question of, well, but what direction do I actually think is going to occur? And that's where, and the same is true for anything else. I don't care, well, I know what a stock is. It's a part of a company, or, well, I know how crypto works and I know how blockchain works. And that's fine. I'm not saying that stuff is totally useless, but at the core, you need to first just be good at figuring out what direction do you think an asset price or value is going to move. So that brings up the question, okay, well, is there anything out there that can do this, that can actually force you to be good at deciphering and coming up with, again, no guarantees, but be coming up with plausible and logical thought process of, yeah, I think a price is going to move in that direction within that amount of time because of this, that, and the other. And if I were to look at this, that, and the other, I would say, all right, yeah, I mean, not guaranteed, but that's a rational way to go about it. I can see why you would be thinking that way. And there is. So this is the tool. Instead of looking at this first, let's cut this out and we'll come back to it. But in order to figure out, well, what direction, like I said, either write it down or just remember 2 words, technical analysis. Or in other words, this is charts. Maybe you've seen them before. They kind of look like the Matrix, but I promise they're not as bad as the Matrix. They're not, they're pretty straightforward. But if you learn technical analysis, at the core, technical analysis is not for stocks. It's not for options. It's not for crypto. It's for anything that has a value attached to it. And then as time passes, that value changes. So ask yourself, okay, under those circumstances, has a value attached to it, and then that value changes and fluctuates over time? Well, you can look at that list, and each and every one of those things has a value that changes over time. So therefore, you don't need to worry about which of these you learn first. Learn about figuring out and getting good at, well, what direction do I actually think a value is going to go? And once you learn that by using technical analysis, then at that point, this is where you come back and figure out, okay, well, which of these do I think I want to trade? Now, just because you know what direction you think something's going to go doesn't mean that you're ready to trade it. For example, options. Well, yeah, you got to learn some of the terminology about options. You got to learn about the Greeks. For crypto, you got to learn about, okay, how things work. For futures, you got to learn about, okay, what's a tick? How does a tick work? What's the value? And I mean, each of these have little intricacies here that you'll still have to learn about. But by answering and knowing how to answer that question, you're basically 80% there. You have 80% of the knowledge that's going to be required to actually trade consistently. Everything else is kind of just FYIs, learning terminology, learning how something works a little bit. But like I said, at the core, no matter what you're trading, if you don't know how, or you're not very good at figuring out what direction you think is actually going to be occurring with that asset, then it doesn't matter what you learn about first, because it's all about learning about the direction at the forefront. So to those people who are, I don't know, what would be the best to learn about first? You're focusing on the wrong thing. Learn technical analysis first. Learn technical analysis, get really good at figuring out directions, and then at that point, you can come back and you're gonna have a much better idea of what you would feel comfortable with in that regard. So hopefully this helps. I get it. It's, again, if you are clicking on this because you're wondering the same thing, yeah, I don't know, what should I be learning about first? That's fine. That's fine if you're focused on these things instead. You're a rational person. You're acting in a very logical way. So congratulations on being a logical human being. But like I said, tricky part about the markets, sometimes they want to send you down pathways that don't really make sense as far as a logistics standpoint. And that's why let's just get good. And I want you to focus on getting good at figuring out what direction something moves, which again can be learned by focusing on technical analysis. So if you have any other questions or anything like that, please leave those down below. As you saw from this video, I do read comments. Sometimes comments spur on ideas to make videos. So yeah, comments, questions, suggestions, leave those down below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Also check out the channel as a whole. I get it, this is a very basic video, but there are more advanced videos for those of you that have maybe more experience, or you're just looking to learn more. So check out the channel as a whole and hopefully decide to hit that subscribe button. But yeah, get out there and get really good at that question. What direction do I think such and such is actually going to move? First off, thanks so much for watching the entire video. Real quick, before you go, I want to invite you to a live webinar, web class, training, workshop, online event, whatever you want to call it, but it will be me live revealing to you what I've discovered that has allowed me to transform myself from being an employee to being my own boss, including how I had only one losing day out of 73 days in total. I'm going to cover 3 keys that have helped me unlock profitable consistency within the markets. The first key is super weird, but in a productive type of way. The second key is super awesome because it quite literally is wired into our DNA as humans, making it very easy to use. But in a cruel way, this becomes a pitfall for many traders. I'll explain it all though, including how to avoid the pitfall that it creates for some. And yeah, the third key, when you hear it, sounds way too good to be true, but it's not, and I'll show you how it all works. Then at the end, I open it up for a question and answer session that is, again, totally live. Even if you can't make the live session, please still sign up as it will be recorded, and you can go back and watch the replay that I will send you. Click the image on the screen or click the link down in the description box so you can get the date and time and claim your spot, which I should note is limited due to the fact that this truly is a live event. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'll be seeing you soon.